Thank you all for coming. About a year and a half ago, we had a countywide elected official who had broken the trust of the citizens he was elected to protect, and he was charged with crimes that directly impacted the citizens and the taxpayers here in Winnebago County. At the time, to his credit, Chairman Chiarelli sought the legal advice on how to temporarily remove this individual until the legal case was resolved. The chairman surprisingly discovered at that time that there was no legal remedy in place to temporarily remove a countywide elected official, even when the citizens were put at risk. The chairman approached me to work on legislation to give the county the tools necessary, and again, to his credit, the chairman said the solution cannot be seen as one that is political or one that could ever become a political tool for either counties or for townships. On the surface, while this legislative solution seems simple, we had to keep in mind it's a difficult balancing act between protecting the public and the rights of individuals who were elected and yet charged but not found guilty of any crime yet. As area legislators, we met and all agreed there needed to be a solution that the public felt put them at ease, but also one that was not seen as a political tool as well. So we sought the legal advice of Winnebago County State's Attorney Jay Handley, and with input from Boone County State's Attorney Tricia Smith and others, we came up with a framework that we're announcing today. We believe that this legislation, Senate Bill 3460, reaches the proper balance of protecting taxpayers and citizens along with the legal rights of the elected official. And here are the steps in a nutshell. State's Attorney Handley can go over all the legal details of it, but in a nutshell, if an elected official is charged with a crime that directly impacts the office they're serving and is seen as a threat to the taxpayers or citizens if they remain in office, the county board, by a supermajority, 3/5, can request that the state's attorney review the charges to see if they believe those charges do directly impact the public. If the state's attorney agrees with that, the state's attorney then takes that to the chief of the circuit court, who will make the final ruling on that individual being placed on leave until that court case is resolved. We believe that this bipartisan legislation gives the tools necessary to local governments to protect their taxpayers and their citizens, as well as reaches a balance of protecting the legal rights of the individual who has been elected yet still not found guilty. With that in mind, I'd like to first ask Chairman Chiarelli to step up and talk a little bit about this legislation, about what brought us to this point. Chairman?
Thank you, Senator. I can't express my gratitude enough today for yourself sponsoring this bill, and also all the co-sponsors which are behind me, Rockford area legislators. It's an amazing task, and when we work together, we find common ground, and we are able to bring forward great legislation that has an impact on all our citizens of Winnebago County and the entire state. So I applaud you and I thank you for your work. This not only protects the citizens of this county when a local official is indicted for crimes, it also protects that person who's indicted. And I really wanted to make sure that balance was there. And we protect all individuals. And most importantly, we protect the offices of where they work in and what they represent. We have to maintain integrity in these offices in Winnebago County and the entire state of Illinois. That was why I did what I did with the current coroner, because the integrity was not there any longer for that office. And to protect the families and protect the citizens during that time of when they're indicted, we need to make sure that these offices are run appropriately and serve our citizens at the highest capacity that they can. The need for this legislation arose from that fact. And I'm so happy that this is occurring today. You have no idea how it makes me feel for our entire county and for the state of Illinois. In this case, there was a clear risk to the taxpayers and the families. If this elected official was allowed to continue to work in his office, I don't know how many of those employees would have lasted. I don't know what else would have been occurring for the public. So I really am appreciative. Again, I don't know how many times I can say that, but this is very dear to my heart and a lot of people in this county's heart. So with no mechanism in place at that time, that was the need why I went to the Senator Syverson and the other legislators for help. And boy, did they deliver on that. So wonderful. To that end, Senate Bill 3460 requires a 3/5 vote by the county board to ask the state's attorney to determine if the charges against that local government official is a detriment to that office and to the operations of that office. I'm proud to have worked alongside those legislators to help craft this bipartisan legislation that protects the taxpayers and the citizens of this county. I'd like to now hand this over to our esteemed state's attorney, Jay Hanley.
Hi, good morning, everyone. A couple things. As the state's attorney in the room, I think it's important to understand that Bill Hintz is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty by a court of law. I think that has to be said out loud. That being said, this legislation allows, as was described, it gives us a tool to remove an elected, to put them on administrative leave when they've been charged with a crime, particularly a crime that directly relates to their job. And so when you think about the ends of the spectrum, right, and this has happened in this county and counties throughout Illinois, you've got an elected who's charged with a DUI. That almost certainly is not going to be germane or related to their responsibility as an elected. On the other end of the spectrum, you could have an elected who's charged with some kind of fraud, whether it's accepting kickbacks or whatever, that clearly is related to their job. And so whether by grand jury or some charge, probable cause has been found that they've committed this crime, and yet here in Illinois, right now, there is nothing you can do. That elected gets to keep their job. And I can't tell you how many times during this ordeal I would hear, how is that possible? How is that possible? How can this person keep their job? And for every time I heard it, the chairman heard it probably 3 times over, and everyone behind me heard it as well. And so there was a real frustration, and the chairman and I were the brunt of that frustration oftentimes, that just nothing can be done. And now this is just a tool in our tool belt, and we all standing here hope that we never have to use this. And hopefully that this law will pass, and it never is an issue, right? We all hope for that. But we've got a plan for when it does happen. I think Senator Syverson and the chairman did a great job of describing generally what the bill does. One thing I wanted to mention was ultimately a petition would be filed with the circuit court where that elected serves. And why that's significant is ultimately the court would determine whether the crime charge was related to or germane to the job responsibilities of the elected. So that's another layer of protection from it being, too political, right? It wouldn't just be the state's attorney or the county board making the decision. Ultimately, the court would make the decision. So beyond that, I don't have anything further. I'm happy to answer any questions at the end. Thank you.
Thank you. Then State's Attorney from Boone County, Tricia Smith. Tricia?
Thank you, Senator. Just wanted to thank Senator Syverson and the other legislators for addressing this important issue. I think it's been thoroughly described by the other speakers here this morning, but I just would like to reiterate that there's several layers in this process to hopefully protect not only the individual who's been elected to office, but also the public from dealing with that office of that elected. So I appreciate everyone's hard work on this matter, and we're very hopeful that it will be passed into legislation. Thank you.
And then the House sponsor of the legislation is going to be Representative Dave Vella. So I'd like to turn it over to Representative Vella.
Thank you very much, Senator. This was a very important bill. And I want to thank Senator Syverson for bringing it. I'll be the House sponsor. The reason why this is important, I spent the last 2 years knocking on doors to find out what's important to people. And one of the things I heard most, and what I hear in polls all the time, is that trust for elected officials is as low as it possibly can be. And the actions of the people that we're trying to address here really kicked us down even farther. So the reason why we're here, I mean, we could have just filed this bill. The reason why we're here is to make sure that people in Winnebago County know that we're taking this seriously and that we want them to trust us. And that's why we're here together in a bipartisan way, Republicans and Democrats, state's attorneys, county board, state representatives, senators, to say that Winnebago County thinks this is important. And I think this is a big day in Winnebago County because we are coming together as a bipartisan group to say corruption is not okay, and we're not going to let people stay in office and keep doing the people's business when we have probable cause to believe, or whatever the standard is, to believe that they have done something wrong in office. So I'm just very proud of this bill. I'm very proud of the people who are up here, and I'm very proud to have worked with them. So, and again, I'm very proud of Winnebago County for being the leader in this, so that we make sure that this does not only happen here, but doesn't happen in the rest of the state. So I'll give it back to Senator Syverson.
Thank you. Then the co-sponsor of this in the Senate, our colleague, Senator Steve Stadelman.
Good morning, everybody. This is really about public trust. If people don't trust their elected office and the services provide, we've got some real problems. So this will ensure public trust. Whenever a public official is criminally charged and doesn't step away from those duties, people just lose trust completely. As was mentioned, I think you see polls show that public trust in government and institutions is probably at an all-time low for a number of different reasons. This will help ensure that trust remains. And this puts a good path forward. If someone is indicted, this allows them to stay on paid leave until those criminal charges are eventually resolved. But yet it maintains the trust of people in that office and the important services provide. So as was mentioned, this is a bipartisan effort. We have a Republican sponsor in the Senate, thanks to Senator Syverson for the initiative, and a Democratic sponsor in the House. It's always good to see in Springfield. We need more of that type of legislation down there. But looking forward to moving this legislation forward, and thanks to everybody. We have different levels of government as well. Again, this is a mutual effort to make sure that we do the right thing at the state and county level. Thanks.
And then the co-sponsor for the House, in the House, Representative Maurice West.
Thank you, Senator Syverson, and thank you all for being here. Good morning. As I think about why we're here, I think about the very first day when I became a state rep. My first elected office held was on the 9th of January. I was sworn in. The very next day, I got an email calling me a corrupt politician. That doesn't give me time to do anything. Yeah. But at the same time, I understood because of what we've been dealing with when it came to corruption in politics here in the state of Illinois. Corruption has no respect of person, it has no respect of party. It happens in both the Republican side and the Democratic side. But today, we're coming together in a bipartisan way on various levels of government, working together, putting away stepping aside from our differences in policy and working together to restore trust within our government. And I'm glad to see and glad to be a part of the fact that Winnebago County is showing what a best practice this should look like for the rest of the state. As Senator Syverson said, I will be the chief co-sponsor in the House. I'll be supporting Representative Vella however he needs me to support him to make sure that we can get this to the finish line this session. Not next year, this year. The plan is for us to work on that this year. I'm confident in our senators, Syverson and Stadelman, that they'll make it happen in the Senate. Vella and I will make it happen in the House, and we will keep our county officials and our colleagues and friends from the other side of the aisle apprised of what's going on so that we can once again restore trust in our government. So thank you so much.